Back, I'm Gerty rude, back again, a Sunday mood. Well, here you are, and happy Sunday to one and all. It's the end of Sunday, and hasn't it been a pleasant Sunday? A very cold one, but quite pleasant. This is Ben Habib, and in my opinion, he should be the leader of reform, with Zia Youssef. The other two guys, I just think they're globalists, to be fair. I've never been a big fan of either of them. Don't believe the two people that are currently leaders. Don't like what they did to Ben Habib. Just some sort of gravy train and some sort of messianic mission, and sellouts, the pair of them. So they're probably, they're getting all the expense accounts now, and they're in with all the right clubs. I think I've said it before. Meeting all the right people across the globe and blah-de-blah. So they're towing whatever line they're told to tow by the globalists. There's so many little organisations that none of us are privy to. And I think it's best borne out by this grooming gang scandal. Now, he thinks, Ben Habib, well, let him tell you what he thinks.
Social services were fearful of doing it. Local councils were fearful of doing it. Some of these girls were trafficked in councils. She talked about forward-looking laws where they would make it an aggravated crime if they were groomed. They would make it illegal to be complicit in this activity. That it's already illegal to be complicit in the gang rape of little girls.
See where I get my opinion from, ladies? He's definitely more on it, isn't he? He's perfectly right. All the crimes that they're now saying, I think we should have an inquiry into, they're already on the statute books. There's no need for another inquiry. You've been there, done it, bought the T-shirt. I'm wondering if there are interested parties that earn money out of inquiries at the moment that are pushing for this. Don't think Labour obviously don't want an inquiry. And I'll tell you why. If I can just get rid of this. Let's go down here. Stay with me, guys. And then go here. Oh dear, what have we got?
Orchestrated by a group of paedophile hunters.
Oh dear.
The dramatic event unfolded live on social media.
Oh.
With the arrest being streamed directly on a widely used platform like Facebook, capturing the attention of tens of thousands.
Oh. This is awkward, you see. This is awkward. Because this guy here, Ivor Kaplan, had given an interview the other day to GB News. He's the former, as it says, Labour MP, I think it's for Hove or Brighton or somewhere. Gave an interview to GB News. I've been all over the YouTube platform and GB News trying to find that interview. That was there yesterday when I saw it, but seems to have disappeared quite rightly, to be fair. And he was vociferously on GB News speaking out against the need for an inquiry, because we don't need an inquiry, because after all, it's racialist or religiousist or sexist or somethingist. It's something other than common sense. It's all the other things. So obviously he was speaking out on GB News for the Labour Party, you see, even though he's a former MP. Now yesterday, and it was yesterday, just up the road from me, in a city quite near to, it's the nearest city to me. Yeah, it is nearer. It's nearer than London. Yes, it is, definitely. So it's the nearest city to me. Yesterday, this happened. You see, to the guy, I think his name's Ivor Kaplan, he's now on remand. So if he's on remand, it makes me think that it's probably not his first rodeo. Do you get me, capiche? Are you hearing me? So, yeah.
The live stream, which lasted about half an hour, drew over 36,000 views and garnered more than 3,000 comments, showcasing the public's engagement and shock at the unfolding event.
So that was awkward, because as I say, he's an ex-Labour MP that they still use as a commentator on this sort of subject. And yeah, he was busted yesterday in the city next to me doing what he was doing. I think he was attempting to procure a young male, underage male. Let's just say that. Let's be polite. And as yet, it's allegedly, but he's on remand, so not sure what all that's about. And yeah, he was representing Labour's voice piece or mouthpiece or face the camera or whatever it is they call themselves. So, and then Ben Habib goes on here to say, let's go back to Ben. Where are we? Come on, Ben. Come and see Auntie Gert. You know you want to. Right.
Illegal to be complicit in the gang rape of little girls. It's already illegal. And I will go further, by the way, than the Conservative Party. I would say we don't need an inquiry into this. What we want is a dedicated unit of the police to have powers of arrest and detention, to weed out those who turned a blind...
Yeah, to do their job without fear or favour. That's the main thing, isn't it, really? That's all the public would ever want. That's all any of the victims and their families and the wider community would ever want or desire or dream of or imagine would be the case, I would say. Rather than the obfuscation and the kicking the can down the road and all the backwards and forwards between different factions saying they want an inquiry and then Labour don't want an inquiry, and half the time, well, we know why they don't want an inquiry, don't we, darlings? So, but there seems to be something more insidious going on that I'm picking up. I mean, you could have guessed it, but you couldn't have named it and you couldn't have hung your hat on it. It was sort of ethereal and hard to discern that there was something quite going on that was more than just police being scared to accuse people of this crime because these people's religion may or may not have been, is it Shinto or is it a Buddhist or maybe Jewish or any of the other religions. It wasn't anything really to do with that. It's far much more embedded and ingrained and deeper than just that. It's complicity that at the base is which I've said during the week. The basis and the crux of the whole situation is a class thing. So, and also where the middle classes hold the professions, don't they? And they also are the media and political class is basically the middle class. And the professions thereabout. So we're talking higher up in the police and maybe social services, community services or whatever. I don't know what they are, but you know what I'm saying, don't you? Those sort of industries, those sort of professions. And yeah, it's kind of an inverted snobbery on their point of view. And also a cowardice and a weakness as well, and just so many different reasons. But on the side of the people that were offending, it's actually a far deeper thing than just that. It's not necessarily their religion. That is just something that we're being told. It's a lot more nuanced than that. Have you ever, I don't know whether you've ever heard, but I think I brought it up before about the Baka Posh, or I think they're called also the Bacha Bakri. And most of the serving soldiers in Afghanistan will come back with stories of that situation. So if you'd like to look into that, and now that practice came from Pakistan, where Afghanistan and Pakistan were trading with each other, and they also took it to Bhutan as well in a different form. I think Bhutan is the Baka Posh, and Afghanistan is the Bacha Bakri, they're called. If you look into that, it's their culture. It's deeply ingrained in their culture. Also, I thought all along that we're hearing about females of our species being troubled and interfered with. I'm just trying to be polite, yeah, because I'm not a very big channel, so I have to be careful. Are being troubled on an industrial scale was the females, but I did suspect that it was actually also boys, and that's also coming out now as well. Children, no matter either gender, it's horrific and it's disgusting, but it seems to be a cultural thing that's happening, which is far deeper. I mean, yes, it is, I suppose, being facilitated by the caddies of the political and media and professional classes that are loath to tackle it, or loath to be the person to stand up. Yet there has been some people. I am wondering if some of the people that we're treated to by the media, and I don't want to name any names, but some big names that have been speaking out over the years and we're treated to and basically groomed and gaslit into disliking and hating the person. Actually, as two or three. Not, I wouldn't say so much Maggie Oliver, because she's like the godmother of it all, you know. She's actually irreproachable. You can't really hang anything on Maggie. She's too pure. And but the other people that have tried to speak out about this have been, we, the public, have been gaslit tremendously about them. And I think it's actually to keep other more powerful people that were speaking out, to keep them out the headlines. Because if you go on there to see, there was a chap on there, I can't even think of his name now, but he was from a Pakistani ethnicity, and he's been speaking out like for years, and he was quite powerful, because I think he was on the council in Rotherham or Oldham or somewhere. And and he, by God, if you go into his interview, he gave it them tooth and nail for decades, and he had everything that happened to a certain other chap that's now in prison, happened to him, but we never heard about it, you see. Do you see, darlings? Do you see the sleight of hand? It's like a game of cards, darlings. You have to be very careful. Yes! You must never show your hand or let them see any expression on your face, because that is what's happening here. And it's hard to discern, but it's going on, okay? They are loath to actually treat this head on. I think the only thing you could do is to maybe have a dedicated, like they go on to say, a dedicated unit that deals with just this crime and no other. And so it's grooming gangs, whether, no matter what religion or ethnicity those manifest as, any situation where they are grooming minors or vulnerable members of society, that should be a dedicated team, without fear or favour. And I think if that happened, we'd probably put this to bed in a week, you know. So let's go on, because I've blathered on a bit.
Blind eye to this activity in their own police forces, in social services, in councils and so on, and to arrest them and to hold them to account.
Yes.
That's the first thing. The other thing, I want the government...
I like the thing with him that you can sense that he's genuine, you can sense that he feels it, you can feel his emotion, you can feel his frustration as well, in a way that when other media heads talk, I mean, like, say for instance, Jess Phillips, I'm sure she practiced in front of the mirror before she gave that interview to pull the sad faces and that. It was just so disingenuous. That also goes with Spice and Taraj, whatever his bleeding name is. I can't with either of them, sorry. But anyway, if you love them, it's up to you. That's just my opinion.
To admit is that we're having all this debate about the revelation of ethnicities because multiculturalism in this country is not working. If we had a unified, integrated culture and we hadn't had mass immigration in the way that we've had, we wouldn't be having debates about ethnic...
No, but as I say, he's exactly right. Of course he's exactly right. The law should be for everybody, no matter what. And it was that. But something sort of got in amongst that ethos and pulled it to pieces. And I think it's too simple to just say, oh, well, it was predominantly happening in Labour-held areas. So, i.e., the parishes or areas it was happening in were dependent on a Labour MP getting into power. I think that's too simplistic. I think it was deeper than that. Anyway, I'm going to move on, because now we're going to have the lady come out and talk her waffle. Let's go for it, lady.
Director of Public Prosecutions, he was in charge of it. That's when it first came up properly, from 2009, and he is the first person to...
Sorry, stop you there. Right, sorry about this.
Your thoughts we just had.
Right, listen to this.
Well, I want to talk about... I don't want to make it political. I want to talk about how...
I'm trying to show you the clever sleight of hand these people do. Come on, darling.
Awful it's been. One of the reasons... I mean, when Keir Starmer was Director of Public Prosecutions, he was in charge of it. That's when it first came up properly.
Did it? Did it? No, it didn't, but they're trying to reclaim it. So it did. And she didn't want to make it political. But obviously it's now political.
From 2009, and he is the first person to admit that he looked at it the wrong way. And one of the reasons is...
That's all right, then.
Is he the first person to admit? Because the other day I heard him trying to cover up and say he was the big hero. He was the guy in the cape that came along and saved the day, from what I can remember. Go on.
What?
That's all right, then.
No, I'm not saying anything. I was trying to explain what happened. Is the real problem? So we can try and turn it into a political thing, or we can say how did we change? What went wrong, and how did we change it? And one of the things.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. Yeah, shut up. I'll tell you. You don't tell me, love. Yeah, it happened like that because that culture became part of the culture, okay? You imported that culture, you fated them, you saw them as littler and needing help, and your middle class bleeding, unctuous load of old twaddle you lot come out with. Oh, these poor people, they need our help and support. Never mind the children. Oh, yeah, just sacrifice them, they're white, they got privilege and all this old hooey. And so that actual culture, and it's been going, they say 20 years, it's been going on since I was young, do you know what I mean? And that was like the second ice age. So it's been going on forever. And funnily enough, and I'm going to hang my hat up here, if you actually go into it slightly more, it was going on before the incredible, what would you call it? Yeah, resettlement, let's just say, of the last 20 years. So if you go back to each incoming mass migration we've had, so in the 90s it was the Balkans, happened then, darlings, it happened then, okay? And before that, I'm loath to say, but it was also happening, you know, darlings, in the immigration set that were prevalent in the 80s, that were coming over from, just say, the Caribbean areas. Let's just say that areas. And that is something that happened then to young white English children. So, oh my God, I'm going to get myself in so much trouble. Is it something to do? It's like if somebody invites you in your house, in their house, and just lets you do whatever. I mean, you're not going to have a lot of respect for them, are you? Really? Do you get me? Capiche? And I suppose what I'm saying is, with such a soft touch, and because these people are basically fated by the middle class professions, and everybody they meet is feeling sorry for them and scared to say this and overly laughing at their jokes and trying to culturally be appropriate to them and one thing and another. Yeah, it's bullshit. That's why it's happening. That's what I think. So the culture that comes with them then becomes our culture, and obviously these people need supporting, don't they? So they shut up, they keep quiet.
That was wrong, which the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service, is the victims were not seen as credible, and that's what has changed. Is that
the victims were not seen as credible? Okay, so if you go back to the 1989 Children Act, one of quite a few tenets in it is that you believe the child. It doesn't say you believe the child unless they accuse somebody that may or may not be of the Islamic faith. It doesn't say that. So that's what I'm saying. It's got to be more than just, oh, you're scared of being called racist. Because that just doesn't really make sense. There's something more going on.
What they've understood is that you can't say, look, if you look at rape cases, right, 1.5% of recorded rape cases go to court, and that's because the victims are not considered credible. They don't think that they're going to win, right? So, and actually that's what was happening here. And what happened was it changed, and it changed because a new guy came into the Northern Prosecution Service, and he looked at it, and actually he was a member of an ethnic minority, and he looked at it and he said, this is really going on and we have to change it. And what really bothers me is instead of thinking about how are we going to stop it, what about these victims, what about the young women who are still suffering, and many probably have still not come forward, because the thing about rape victims is they often take a very long time to come forward, so that we don't know the thing. But actually, Ben, you talk about, that it's all about ethnicity and multiculturalism. The data that came out in...
Sorry, I was just mesmerised. I heard a motorbike pull up in my driveway as I'm filming. Anyway, yeah, back to this. So basically, yeah, they're still kicking the can down the road. Let's wrap it up. I think Ben Habib should be a leader of something. He's obviously a very, he's fearless, isn't he? And he speaks truth to power, which is what we want. We don't really need these career politicians and people that are just, well, I don't want to do this and I don't want to say that. It shouldn't be like a career choice being in politics, should it? It always used to be that you were an expert in some area, or you had a profession here, or you'd done that and you lived a life, and then because you had some experience and wisdom, you might put yourself forward to be a politician. And I think that's where it's all gone wrong, darlings. I think that's basically what I've been trying to say all along. Anyway, wherever you are in the world, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, and I love you and leave you. I've got to do this business now, you know this bit. Okay, wherever you are, love you and leave you, bye.